Have you ever noticed how excited people are when you first share a new dream? Maybe it's a business you want to start, a book you want to write, a degree you want to earn, a marathon you want to run, a goal that sits deep inside your heart and refuses to leave you alone. When you first tell people about it, they're excited. They ask questions, they encourage you, they tell you how great it's going to be. And for a little while, it feels like everyone is walking alongside you. But then something interesting happens. Time passes. The dream doesn't happen overnight, but the work continues. And slowly, the questions stop. The updates become less exciting. The conversations move on, not because people are mean, not because they don't care, but because they have their own lives, their own responsibilities, their own dreams to chase. Meanwhile, you are still carrying yours. And that's when you discover something that nobody talks about enough. The loneliest part of the dream isn't the work necessarily. It's carrying a vision that nobody else can fully see. When most people think about pursuing a dream, they imagine the effort, the long hours, the sacrifices, and the setbacks. But I've found the work itself is often the easiest part. If you truly care about something, if it genuinely matters to you, you'll find a way to do the work. You'll wake up early, you'll stay up late, you'll keep learning, and you'll keep trying. The challenge isn't always the effort. The challenge is continuing when the excitement has disappeared. Because dreams have middle stages, a very long middle stage, usually. The beginning is exciting, but everything seems possible at that moment. The end is also exciting because, well, the results are almost quite visibly there. But the middle is where most of life happens. The middle is where you're working just as hard as before, sometimes even harder, but there's very little to show for it. It's where people have stopped asking for updates. It's where progress becomes almost invisible some days. It's where you start wondering if anyone else still believes what you're doing. And the truth is, they may not. At least not in the same way you do. Because they don't see what you see. They don't wake up with the vision every morning. They don't think about it while driving to work. They don't carry it in every decision they make. But you do. And that can feel incredibly lonely. I think that's why so many worthwhile goals are abandoned. Not because people aren't capable, not because they're lazy, not because the dream was impossible, but because they reached the point where the applause disappeared. The point where encouragement became silent. The point where belief had to come from within instead of from everyone around them. And that's a difficult transition, because external motivation is very powerful. It's fun, it's energizing, but eventually, every meaningful pursuit requires something deeper. Conviction. The willingness to keep moving forward without constant validation. The willingness to continue building when nobody is watching. The willingness to trust that today's invisible effort is creating tomorrow's visible results. And that's hard, because we live in a world that celebrates outcomes. We celebrate promotions and finished books and successful businesses. We celebrate finish lines. What we rarely celebrate is the thousands of ordinary days that make up those moments and make them possible. The mornings when nobody noticed, the evenings when nobody asked, the months and years spent quietly becoming the person capable of achieving the goal. And that's where the real story happens. That's where the character is built. That's where the dreams are either abandoned or achieved. So if you're in that season right now, the season where the questions have stopped, the progress feels slow, and the dream still feels far away, I want you to remember something. The silence doesn't mean that you're failing. The lack of attention does not mean you're on the wrong path. And the loneliness doesn't mean the dream isn't worth pursuing. It may simply mean you've reached the part of the journey where belief becomes your responsibility. Because every dream has a moment when the audience leaves. Every dream has a season where the results aren't visible. Every dream has a chapter where the only person who fully understands the vision is the person carrying it. And maybe that's not a flaw in the process. Maybe it's part of the test. Maybe the question isn't whether the dream is possible. Maybe the question is whether you'll keep walking when nobody else is asking where you're going. Because in the end, the people who achieve extraordinary things are not always the most talented. They're often the ones who learned how to keep believing after the excitement faded. The ones who continued long after anybody asked what they were doing. The ones who continued long enough for the invisible work to become visible. The ones who understood that the loneliest part of a dream is often the very place where it begins to come real. So my encouragement to you today is this: if you're in the middle, don't quit. Keep going. And also, if you know somebody who happens to be in the middle of their dream, maybe encourage them just a smidge. Not a lot, just a little. Just enough to know that they can keep going and that one day their dream may become a reality.